Today at the Addison Historical Museum, we have the privilege to introduce a remarkable heroine whose story often flies under the radar, yet she played a pivotal role in one of the greatest accomplishments of the 20th century. We welcome the sister of the Wright brothers, Katharine Wright, whose steadfast dedication helped keep their dreams on course. Thank you so much for being here, Katharine.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, a lot of people know the famous invention that your brothers are known for, but few are unaware of your significant contributions. How did you become first involved in their groundbreaking work?
Well, from the very beginning, you might say, I worked in the Wright cycle shop. I kept the books, I answered the telephone, and sometimes I even swept the floors. Even as my brothers began their research and their experiments in flight, I was there every minute. And when they were a little short of cash, I took all of my savings. I'm a school teacher, you know, and I took all of my savings, about $1,000, and gave it to my brothers so that they could continue their experiments in flight. And I must say, I was greatly rewarded. They have indeed accomplished controlled manned flight.
Well, you know, President Taft said you were the most important member of the family. Now, could you describe what a typical day was like for you in Dayton, and how did you hold down the Wright family household here?
Well, the first thing in our family was prayer. After all, we are the children of Bishop Milton Wright. So prayer was a very, very important beginning to our days, and then we would go off to our various employment. My two brothers, of course, to the cycle shop, and I off to the high school here in Dayton, Central High School, where I taught English and Latin. And whenever possible, I was at the Wright cycle shop helping my brothers in their experiments.
And you used your educational background to guide, you know, your approach to supporting Orville and Wilbur, particularly when it came to the interactions with the public and the press, didn't you?
Well, my brothers are both very shy. They don't do well in public speaking. In fact, they avoid it at any cost. And so, especially on our trip to Europe, I acted as their press agent, and I impressed the French by coming out and introducing my brothers in French. Granted, not perfect, but at least it was French. But I did have a rather awkward moment with the King of Spain. I had read and practiced exactly how to behave when one greets royalty. Well, when confronted with the King of Spain, I immediately grabbed his hand, gave him a hearty shake, clapped him on the back, and said, "How are you doing?" He smiled very sweetly at me and then gave me a little pinch on the cheek.
You know, speaking of those international tours, when you promoted your brothers' achievements, did you ever experience any cultural or diplomatic challenges, especially with the dignitaries or with the press? And if so, how did you handle all of that?
It was difficult because I'm not accustomed to that. After all, we come from Dayton, Ohio. We don't have a lot of royalty in Dayton. And it was difficult, but it seemed, especially the French, they were just absolutely taken with my brothers, and they certainly showed me a great deal of deference and were very kind and generous. And even with the incident with the King of Spain, we still did rather well. In fact, the King of Spain did fly with Orville that very same day. And so the French and the Spanish and from all over Europe, they were so excited to meet these flyboys from Dayton, Ohio. They gave us a wonderful reception everywhere we went.
Now, as the tensions in Europe seem to be escalating, there's talks that we're headed into the First World War. How do you feel about the possibility of your brothers' endeavors being used in the war effort?
Well, I think we've known for some time that the airplane would eventually be used in war. I'm hoping that, in fact, it will lessen the casualties. For if we're able to do reconnaissance with an airplane to see where our enemies have their artillery and so on, I think we might save lives, especially in the infantry where so many lives would be lost. We do have a contract with the United States Army, which we must honor, and we will continue to produce airplanes for the Army. Unfortunately, they may be used in warfare.
Do you or your family plan on making any public statements or taking any steps to promote the use of their aircraft for peaceful purposes rather than the war?
I don't think it would be feasible for us to make such a statement at this time. It certainly would be contrary to the contract that we have signed with the United States Army, and I don't feel it would be fair to give people a mistaken idea as to why my brothers have managed to engineer this magnificent invention called the aeroplane.
Now, even though you've been working for your brothers all these years, I noticed your pin, your button on you that says "Votes for Women." Is that kind of a personal crusade? Have you had a lot of experience, fighting for women's rights?
Well, I just came from a march in Dayton this afternoon where we had perhaps 1,000 ladies from all over Ohio and even ladies from Kentucky and Indiana. My father, the Bishop Milton Wright, and my brothers have been very supportive of my efforts for women's suffrage. And I am also president of the Dayton Women's Club, and we are all very, very fervent suffragists.
Well, looking back, do you think that you would have supported your brothers just the same, or would you have done anything differently?
I think that I am so dedicated to my brothers and dedicated to their work and their experiments. I don't think I would have done anything differently, although I would like to marry someday, and I will tell you a secret if you can keep it from Orville.
Okay.
I have been keeping company with a gentleman.
You have?
Yes.
And you've been writing letters possibly, haven't you, maybe?
Many letters.
Many.
I think I may have found my Mr. Right.
Found your soulmate, yeah. So love is going to win after all. Even though you might have to break a pact that you made with your brothers not to marry, maybe someday, right?
I am hoping in the future. I want Orville to understand that I love him no less. We share a birthday. I was born on his 3rd birthday, and we've always shared that, and I would do nothing that would hurt my brother Orville, but I'm hoping that he will understand that I love Henry, but I still love Orville too.
Well, love wins always, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Katharine, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And from the Addison Historical Museum, I'm Mike Scipione. Thanks for watching.